Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Dhruv Gupta, and in this video, we are going to talk about active and passive voice forms. Guys, before moving on, I'd like to give a big shout out to Mr. Gaurav Munjal, whom I'm extremely thankful to for giving me this opportunity. So without delaying further, let's move on with the tutorial. Guys, active and passive forms are really important for a part of your English grammar, and it is absolutely important for you to understand the difference between the two. This image I found really interesting on the internet. The image on the left hand side shows a man juggling with many things at once, while the guy at the right image is in his thinking mode. So we can say the guy on the left side of the image is active and the guy on the right side of the image is passive. This image is basically to give you a picture or perspective as to what active and passive mean in the dictionary language. What active and passive mean in the English grammar language, we'll study that in the following slides. Active voice. Active voice form is the one where the thing doing action is the subject of the sentence and the thing receiving the action is the object. It is the most commonly used form of writing or speaking, guys. The common formula or denotation that we use to write or speak in an active voice form is first we speak or write the thing which is doing the action, then comes the verb which connects the two, and then comes the thing which receives the action. You guys will be more clear about what active voice form means by looking at these examples. The first one states, the professor teaches the students. Here the professor clearly is the subject who is doing the action of teaching. The teaches part becomes the verb which connects the two, subject and object. The students become the object who are at the receiving part of action, which is teaching by the professor. The next example states, John washes the dishes. Here John is the subject doing the action, washes becomes the verb, and the dishes are the object which are at the receiving end of the action. Now passive voice. Passive voice form is the one where the thing receiving the action is the subject, which is just vice versa of what active voice is. The thing which is doing the action is optionally included near the end of the sentence, which means we have an option to either include that or to exclude it. We'll discuss more about the second point in a later slide. Now, why do we use a passive voice instead of an active voice? We use it if we think that the thing receiving the action should be emphasized upon more, or when we do not know who is the one that is doing the action, or if we do not want to mention the one who is doing the action. This is a very important point for you to understand the difference between passive and active voice. Now we'll look at some of the examples of passive voice form. The first one states, the students are taught by the professor. Here the students are subjects receiving the action. Are taught becomes the passive verb. By the professor is doing action part. By the professor, as to state, is also called as the agent. Please mind my language, guys. Sorry, my writing, guys. I'm using a mouse to write. So by the professor is also called the agent. We'll study more about it at the latest slide. The next example states, the dishes are washed by John. Here the dishes are the subjects receiving action. Are washed becomes the passive verb, and by John is the agent which is doing action. Moving on. Here are some examples stating an interrelationship between active and passive voice form. I like to usually go from active to passive voice form, but you can go from either way as you please or wish. The first example states, the rain ruined my shoes, whose passive counterpart becomes my shoes were ruined by the rain. Similarly, the dog ate my homework. My homework was eaten by the dog. Dad burned dinner. Dinner was burned by Dad. Medication improved her condition. Her condition was improved by medication. The heat made us more miserable. We were made more miserable by the heat. The mosquito bite made him itch. He itched due to a mosquito bite. So these examples should have probably made you more clear about the difference between active and passive voice. Now we'll study about as to why do we use active and passive voice forms at certain places. These sort of variations play a major role in setting the tone of a conversation. Very important, guys and girls. It plays a major role in setting the tone of a conversation, and it also makes a huge difference in conveying a message effectively. Guys, do you want to convey your message effectively or not? It is absolutely essential whatever you are speaking of or whatever you're writing about should be conveyed efficiently and effectively to the one who is targeted at hearing or reading that. So the active and passive forms just do that. I mean, they give us a liberty of using the certain forms to target a certain audience. For example, the man helped the girl is an active sentence clearly, whose passive equivalent will become the girl was helped by the man. Now comes the how part. In English, a sentence consists of mainly three things. First, subject, verb and object, SVO, subject, verb and adverb, SVA, subject, verb and complement, SVC. Active voice form uses either of these three forms, that is SVO or SVA or SVC. For example, the man helped the girl. Here the man is the subject, help becomes the verb and the girl becomes the object. Whereas passive sentences are a bit more complicated than that. The original object becomes the subject. New term is used to define the original subject known as agent. We talked about this in the earlier slide. Thus, the new sentence in the passive form becomes the girl was helped by the man. Here the girl is the subject, was helped becomes the verb, and by the man becomes the agent. Now, a very important thing to note, guys, is that passive sentences have the liberty to let go of the agent as or when they please, and the sentence may simply consist of a subject and a verb. For example, the earlier sentence which states the girl was helped by the man simply becomes the girl was helped. Now, to make the whole complete story short, active sentences are the one which use subject, verb, object, subject, verb, adverb or subject verb complex forms, whereas the passive sentence are the ones who use subject verb or subject verb agent form. To summarize the whole thing short, active voice form is the one which uses the structure of subject verb objective or subject verb adverb and subject verb or complement. The use of it is when we want to place emphasis on the subject or the one who took the action or what action it took, to be precise. For example, the dog ate my homework. Here we are emphasizing on dog who has ate my homework. Similarly, the passive voice form becomes or follows the structure of subject, verb and agent, which is optional. It is used when we want to place emphasis on the object of the sentence. For example, my homework was eaten by the dog. So guys, that was it for this video. Please visit my blog unacademyx.blogger.in. There is an article explaining active and passive voice forms in more detail. Thank you guys. See you in the next